Black women, I want to know if this has happened to you while you're traveling. You are at a bar or, at a restaurant, you're having lunch, you're having a drink, whatever, you're enjoying yourself, and you end up in conversation with the traveler next to you. And everything's going good, it's really sweet, and then all of a sudden there's a shift in the conversation, and all of a sudden it almost feels like a confessional, and this person is like almost trying to let you know that they're one of the good white people. And all of a sudden they're talking about how, I just don't understand why we can't all get along, and before you know it, you are doing emotional labor for the white traveler next to you. If this has happened to you, ladies, I just want you to know you are not alone. And I have found a way to handle it. And I'm wondering if it is similar to the way that you handle it. And if so, if you have a different way also, let me know in the comments. So I'm out here in Hawaii, and I'm here for, a friend's wedding anniversary slash, you know, 10-year anniversary, bachelorette, like the whole thing. It's really been very fun and super sweet. But yesterday, while I was out doing some shopping, I decided to stop at a restaurant. And the reason why I stopped there was, number one, it was on the way, and then also they have it on the mainland too. It was a restaurant that used to be in my neighborhood. And now I know, I get it. I'm in a new place. I should be trying local things. But I was in a rush. I wanted something quick. I wanted a snack because we were going to, have like the nicer dinner at a local place later on. So I stop in, I sit at the bar, and I realize I'm sitting between two older white women. There's one on one side, and then there's one on the other. And the woman on my right was an older lady, white hair, real cute, little grandma looking thing. And she had a margarita, and I was like, ooh, margarita sounds nice, so I'm gonna get that. I said that out loud to the bartender. Of course, she heard it, struck up a conversation, and before we know it, we're talking about, she's trying to pinpoint my accent. She's like, you don't have a southern accent, and you don't have it, and she's trying to figure out where I'm from. And so I tell her I'm actually from the South, and she's like, wow, your accent doesn't, like, she talks about how she travels. She sounds like she has a really dope life. She travels a lot, travels alone. I was like, okay, another solo female traveler. I love to see it, and especially an older woman too, because you don't see that much. At least not me. I don't see older women traveling alone very often. And so we kind of got into that conversation too. And then she, was like, well, I don't know that I really enjoy traveling by myself very much. I'm dating someone, but he said that when I saw his profile, he said he likes to travel. But then I found out after a little while, like, that he doesn't really travel the way I do. I was like, oh, is he like a road trip guy? She's like, yeah, that's his idea of traveling, is road trips. And the reason why I mentioned that is because my dad is the exact same way. His idea of travel is road trips. And I remember when I was a kid, like, I don't think I actually flew on a plane until I was an adult, because in our family, if there was any travel happening, it was going to be a road trip. We were taking the car, and that was it. And so she said, yeah, that's his kind of travel, is a road trip. And then she got onto the topic of her kids and the fact that she's from Michigan. And she was like, I didn't hear a Midwest accent with you. I'm from Michigan, and my daughter, she has a bar in Flint, and when she said it, it was she put a lot of emphasis on that Flint. She said, my daughter lives in Flint, and I grew up right near Flint. And, my daughter has this really lovely place, and she's like, I didn't think that it would end up being like a gay haven and like for folks in Flint, that's what it is. And I was like, oh, here we go. You know how you get when they start getting into that part of the conversation, knowing good and well that she mentioned Flint because of the crisis that happened there a few years ago, that is still happening in Flint. Flint, from what I understand, still has no clean water. But it was funny, like we're having this great conversation. I swear to God, this happens all the time. And I've learned this is how I handle it. And if you have other ways of handling, please put it in the comment section. But as she kind of got into talking more about Flint, talking more about the situation there, I began to withdraw from the conversation. And I shifted my body language and, focused on my food, focused on my drink, focused on the TV. And she's a smart woman and she could read body language. She wasn't so far gone with her drink that she couldn't read. And that part of the conversation started to die. And this is one of the ways, like the ways that I kind of take back my energy and my agency when the person I'm talking to takes the conversation in a direction that I don't want it to go. And this is especially important for former people pleasers like myself, former good girls. We tend to rush, at least in the past. I have rushed to make the conversation, like either to make the person I'm talking to feel better or feel welcomed or feel like, yeah, I'm here to listen to whatever you have to say because I'm nice and polite, and that's not me anymore. So I began to withdraw a little bit from the conversation, withdraw my energy, and she got the picture and kind of pulled back a bit. And I, after a minute or two, I changed the subject. I asked her how long she was staying in Hawaii, and she told me that she was leaving the following morning. Excuse me. And, we continued the conversation on. But this is, when I say this is a pattern, especially as a woman alone, and as a Black woman in some of these spaces. And I wouldn't necessarily say that this restaurant was like high end or anything, but it was mostly white people in the room. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm one of the few, an older white person will find their way into a conversation with me, and they will find some moment to insert into the conversation that they are a good white person, that they don't understand why things are so strained between the races, and we should all be able to get along. And when the conversation starts going that way, and I'm telling you right now that it does not have to become a moment where you are holding the emotional bucket for that person to just vomit all of their guilt and their fear and their insecurity and their desire to be absolved, because that's really what it is. The conversation is about absolution. It's not about, connection. It's not about sharing a fun moment. It is about them wanting to feel absolved for the horrors that they know their people are wreaking on the world. They're wreaking havoc, and they know it. But in that moment, they want you to know that they're not like their family members, that they're not like the people that they, play golf with at the country club. They're not like the people that are in their HOAs and, their financial advisors and all of that. They're not like those people. They want you to know that in that moment. But then they're going to go home. They're going to go back to their lives and continue on, being in community with those same people that create laws and rules and regulations against people like us, right? And I want you to know, Black woman, that that is not your that's not the emotional. You don't have to do that emotional labor. Basically, you don't have to do that. I'm releasing you from those types of interactions. In this particular one, I shifted my energy. She took the she took the signal, and you know we moved on. I have been in other situations where the person did not take the signal. They didn't see. Either they didn't see, or they didn't want to see, or they felt like I needed to. And I have told them straight up, I'm not here to have this conversation with you, right? I can think of another instance. I was visiting home and I met up with my baby brother, and we were at the bar, and he happened to, there was an older white man that was having conversation. At the time, it was a bar that my brother used to work at, a restaurant that my brother used to work at. And this guy was kind of a regular, I think, because they were really familiar and having a nice conversation. Then I come over, join my brother. This man, he's, kind, complimentary. Oh, you're so pretty, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes into the whole, I just don't understand. I love Black people. I really do. The guys that I work with and blah, blah, blah. And as soon as it went there, I said, you know what, sir? I appreciate how kind you've been. I appreciate that you want to have this conversation, but we're not here to have this conversation with you. I spoke for myself and my brother. So we're not here to have that type of conversation. I think that's a conversation you need to have with your Black friends, not with strangers at the bar. Now, if you want to have a drink with us and enjoy this time, we're happy to do that. We're happy to do that. There's a game on, there's things, but we're not here to have a conversation about race. That's not what we're here to do. That's not enjoyable. I'm here to enjoy this time with my brother. I haven't, it's been a while since I've seen him. We're here to enjoy ourselves. This is what you're doing right now is not an enjoyable thing for us. And he got the picture, finished his drink and moved on. And honestly, that's all it needs to be, right? We're not here to do emotional labor for these people. So, that said, I want to address white folks. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. You come to places like Hawaii, which, by the way, Hawaii is mostly Asians and, Polynesian people. Mostly Asian people and Polynesian people. There's white people here too, but y'all come to places, whether it's Mexico or Hawaii or, South Korea or whatever, and you find yourself in conversation with people of color. I need y'all to stop doing this. Stop using these moments where you meet a new person to have these conversations where you're trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of your brethren, where you're trying to be like, I'm one of the good whites. The best way that you can prove that you're a good white person is to be in community, in real community with people of color. To go and have those uncomfortable conversations with family members, with people that are in your HOA, with the folks that go to the polls and vote against y'all's own best interests. Go have those difficult conversations with the white men in your lives who take all of their anger, their frustration, their deep, bone deep insecurity and anger, and take their guns and take it out on everybody else. Go have those difficult conversations with those people instead of coming to the bar, coming to the club, coming to vacation, and then trying to tell us that you're one of the good ones. We're not here for that. We're all here on vacation just trying to have a good time, right? This is not the place for it. So, it's disingenuous, it's inappropriate. You need to stop. So, back to Black women. Again, y'all don't have to hold this. You don't have to hold this energy. And I'm curious if this is something that you have experienced when you've been traveling. I'm curious if this is a conversation that you've encountered and how you handle it. Because I have found two different ways to handle three. One way is to completely ignore those folks. Completely ignore. Number two, if you know that the person is nice, whatever, you can shift your body language, shift your energy. 9 times out of 10, they'll get the hint. They'll either shut up or they'll change the subject. And number three, you can politely but firmly address it and say, no, we're not having this conversation. That's not what we're going to do. We're here to have a good time. If you want to have a good time with us, this is not the way to do that. And you can shift it from there. But again, this is not our fight. This is not the emotional labor. It's just not worth it. It's not. So yeah, I think, yeah. Sorry, I had a flashback to a moment. And I really am looking forward to being in a world where there is not an expectation that when you find yourself in spaces with a bunch of white people, that you walk in knowing that there's going to be some labor expected of you. And I've found that when I'm traveling, when it's a moment of leisure, when I am in sharing space with white people, 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask, not explicitly, but the conversation is going to shift in some way where there's an expectation for me to hold the proverbial, that emotional bucket for them to vomit all of their worries and insecurities and their desire to be seen as one of the good ones. I will be expected to do that emotional labor. And I'm looking forward to a world where that is not the expectation anymore. So yeah, if you're new here, my name is Siobhan. I'm a 40-something Black American woman who trolls these internet streets talking about solo female travel, moving abroad, and owning your life, and continuing to learn how to have a sense of agency over myself and my life, in the way that I speak to people, in the way that I conduct myself, in the work that I do, in the ways that I live, day by day, one step at a time. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you tomorrow.